KJ Perry announced his commitment to BYU yesterday. This is a big pickup for Kevin Young and company because KJ Perry looks like a great piece for the future for BYU basketball. This year's roster, it's going to be headlined by AJ DeBonsa, Richie Saunders, Robert Wright III, Keba Keita, and the other guys on the periphery of that core unit. And there's a lot of good players on this roster. But if you look beyond that, we all expect AJ DeBonsa is going to be here for one season. Richie Saunders ages out. Keba Keita is supposed to move along. Dawson Baker, etc. Even a guy like Rob Wright could move along for the BYU basketball program after this upcoming season. Well, that's why a guy like KJ Perry looks the part of maybe kind of next iteration of what BYU basketball looks like under Kevin Young. He's a 6'2", 6'3" guard, depending on where you look, who is the number 1 rated junior college prospect in the country. He comes to BYU by way of Citrus College, and he plans to enroll at BYU in January for winter semester. But much like Kadeem Mboop last year, he will enroll in January, redshirt, and then will be a bigger part of the team next year, where he will be a redshirt sophomore with 3 years of eligibility remaining. This is a kid who has got two-way ability, and what that means is he's got the ability to score, but he also got the ability to play very, very well on the defensive end of the court. In fact, if you look at his stats from last year, he averages shade over 17 points in scoring for Citrus College. But beyond that, had one game where he had an outburst for 48 points. I saw that he had 7 times he scored over 20 points. But if you also watch his highlights, he's very capable, but he doesn't mind defending. He's not just a one-way player who's trying to just play offense and, I guess, cherry picking in a way. He gets after it on the defensive end of the court, and that's what Kevin Young's going to demand of him. I don't know if Rob Wright III is going to leave after the season for BYU because Rob looks like he is the point guard for BYU. But even if he does or he doesn't, KJ Perry is perfectly capable of being a secondary ball handler and an off-ball guard, it appears, from my perspective. And if he is the point guard of the future, he's got great size, and his ability to play, say, both ways will serve him well in Kevin Young's system. The nice part is BYU beat out the likes of USC, SMU, and TCU, all who had him visits. He had offers from places like Arizona State and others. So I really like this commitment. And the other thing is he may not have had a lot of assists during his junior college days, but this is a kid that went the junior college route to kind of hone his skills and get a bigger opportunity for himself. He's from Southern California, if I recall correctly, but he also was mentioned, I should say, that he originally committed to Cal State Northridge and decided, you know what, I want to go the junior college route and take another opportunity on myself playing at that level versus maybe playing at the Big West level and maybe not getting the same type of time that he got in his first 2 years at in Division I school, if that makes sense. So I think this is a great pickup. I think it's a nice nod to the future for BYU and what Kevin Young is building here. The other thing I look at this for is that Kevin Young is already setting up, it looks like, a continuity plan for BYU basketball. I think with guys like AJ DeBonsa and Richie Saunders essentially kind of being the two focal points of this year's team, well, guess what? You need to have options that can learn from those guys, and then when they move along, they're ready to kind of step in, and there's really no drop-off in many respects. Nobody's going to confuse KJ Perry for AJ DeBonsa or Richie Saunders because those guys are premier wing players. They're 6'5", 6'6". In the case of AJ, could be nearly 6'10" and are premier wing players. But also, BYU's proven to be a pretty perimeter-oriented team. So that's why I like what KJ Perry could bring here. He'll come in January. He'll get to practice with this team, really get to know the ins and outs of Kevin Young's system. And next summer, when they go through their summer workouts leading into the 26-27 season, he should already be well-versed in what BYU wants him to do. And also, depending on what Robert Wright III does, he either is the starting point guard or likely factors in as maybe that off-ball guard, the two guard in BYU's system. And I think there will be a really, really nice kind of bridge to the next iteration of what BYU's doing. Kevin Young's not going to slow down recruiting. This shows that he is continuing to get after it. I think it was Will Voigt, or may have been his brother Justin Young, speaking of Kevin Young, put out the BYU in their last 3 recruiting classes has brought in the number 1 Euro prospect, the number 1 country prospect in the United States of America, and now the number 1 junior college prospect in all of America. This recruiting stuff that Kevin Young's pulling off here, folks, it's downright revolutionary. And we should be enjoying everything that KJ brings to the table for BYU. I think that this is a kid who thoroughly examined all of his options. There was some thought that he may opt to go somewhere else because he maybe didn't think that it was a premier enough role at BYU based on some of the chatter I was observing and hearing. But the nice part is I think Kevin Young, when he gets guys on campus and kind of lays out what the whole vision for BYU basketball is, it's very hard to say no to that because Kevin Young is a no-nonsense straight shooter. That's what guys in the NBA absolutely loved about him. I have heard from people I have talked to who have NBA connections said the reason why Kevin Young was so beloved by guys like Chris Paul, who else am I thinking of? Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, is because he didn't mince words. He told them exactly what he liked, what he didn't like, and there was no sugarcoating it because he was afraid for his job status. Kevin Young is a no nonsense, no frills type dude. And I think that it resonates with young men. They've grown up in many respects being lauded and applauded for everything that they have done in their basketball careers. And so many people don't want to kind of, in a way, like run afoul of them. But a guy like Kevin Young is going to tell them exactly what he sees for them. He's going to explain exactly why he thinks this will work for you, why you should be a part of this. And if you buy in, track record already suggests that Jaeger Demon, as the number 8 pick in the NBA draft, it paid off for him. It sure looks like AJ DeBonsa, no matter what 24/7 Sports continues to say, because now he's the number 3 prospect in this last recruiting class. Don't get me started there. Regardless, he may end up as the number 1 overall draft pick next year. And everything Kevin Young is building here is to build continuity in this program to continue to pump out this talent annually. Just as important as you have top-end talent like an AJ DeBonsa, you need the likes of what BYU gets in KJ Perry, where he may not be a one-and-doner, but he's got 2 or 3 years to develop in this system, and by the end of it, could be like a Richie Saunders, where he's a late bloomer in some people's eyes and ends up as an NBA draft pick. That's the good news of what BYU is building under Kevin Young right now. So embrace it, celebrate it, and it sure looks like the good times, they're getting ready to roll. I'm super excited for this BYU basketball season because I think we saw kind of the vision of what Kevin Young is building last year as they made that run to the Sweet 16. But AJ DeBonsa said it himself this year. The floor in his mind for BYU this year is the Sweet 16. If they don't make it there, he's going to consider it a failure. And he wants to run to the national title game. He wants to make it to a Final Four. I'm all for it because if BYU pulls that off, that means that the Cougars have been everything and then some that we could have hoped for when Kevin Young took this job and really has just revolutionized everything about BYU basketball. All right, that'll do it. I'll stop it there. Coming up tomorrow, I want to dive deeper into this 6-game gauntlet that BYU is going up against in football because I really do think it defines this season. And it looked like a 4-game gauntlet at the outset of the season that was very clear, the Utah, Iowa State, Texas Tech, TCU combo. But now that Arizona and Cincinnati sure look like they are some of the upstarts and good stories of the season, this 6 games, it's going to absolutely be an absolute must prove yourself type scenario for BYU football. Could they fall on their face? Yeah. Could they fly high? Absolutely. And we'll delve into that tomorrow on the podcast. Also remind you guys, coming up on Thursday, the Locked On and Fire TV combination presents College Football Kickoff. It's your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 is driving the conversation alongside 2-time AP Coach of the Year, Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Hawley, and Locked On's local experts as well. It's a college football preview only Locked On and Fire TV can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season. It's only available on Fire TV. So until tomorrow, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your support of this podcast. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars, as we often say, your first listen and or view of the day. And until tomorrow, come back and be an everydayer right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.